welcome to the Iraq Football Podcast, ladies and gents. Well, it's been another World Cup campaign and it's ended in disaster. Although Iraq aren't officially out just yet, it looks like we're not making it to Qatar 2022. To be fair, it was a distant dream, but the last two results, and to be fair, the last entire group stages has been a catastrophic shambles. Now, I'm here to discuss everything that's happened recently with our wonderful friend, Hassan Osama. Hassan, welcome to the show.
Yeah, great to be back, as always. It's been a rough qualifying campaign in general. And, it always feels like, you take one step back, one step forward, two steps back. And, progress is hard to come by here. And it's hard to find positivity, but it's great to always get into it and discuss what we've seen.
Well, we're going to discuss things in a much more detail, but I'm glad Hassan's here. I'm myself, of course, Hassan Bilal, host of the Iraq Football Podcast. And where to start really is the question that we need to ask ourselves. Let's jump into this squad going into the Iran game. We were supposed to have a plethora of different expats that were supposed to be included in the squad. One by one, they started falling like flies. The likes of Somar, Abdul Majid, he couldn't make it. Kado was another name that was touted. Yasser Qasim was supposed to be there. Jilwan didn't quite make it. Rebin didn't make it for other reasons. The ones that did make it, Zidane called up for his first ever international duty for the Iraq national team. Huge. Ali Al-Hamadi back in contention. Franz Butros somehow made it for the skin of his teeth into the squad. And Amir Al-Amari and Moinna Jaz. Now, look, let's be honest, there was a lot of issues going into this section of games and this international week. Things like COVID decimated the squad. Travel restrictions due to weather concerns in Istanbul meant the expat players couldn't arrive in time. Manaf, Yasser Qasim getting COVID, although there's been some discussions of foul play regarding that. We don't really know the truth, but here we are. And we end up losing 1-0 to Iran at the Azadi Stadium away in Tehran. Difficult result to stomach, I think, in the grand scheme of things, especially the way we conceded, and just finished with a 1-1 draw against Lebanon again in Beirut. So it's not been good. The results definitely haven't gone our way, but we keep saying the same thing over and over again, and I feel like a broken record. I mean, I just feel bored of saying the same thing over and over again. I'm waiting to be able to come on this podcast and have something to rave about and be happy about, and just have something positive to give the fans, but it's not happening. It's not happening. Hassan, what do you think of the squad selection that was chosen by Petrovic?
My thoughts on the squad selection, generally mixed, because, I like that that we're continuing with the expats, having them as a much bigger contingent part of the squad than ever before. Moinna Jaz was desperately needed with, the drop of form of Ali Adnan, Amir Al-Ammari, a great player. It's good to have them in it as well, to see Zidane Ahmad finally make his debut with the national team and first getting called up, and Al-Hamadi joining with the team. But my biggest problem, and I'm not sure where the solution is that we aren't really at a point where we can just field a full squad of expats. It's not really, like, theoretically we have the players, but it's not really feasible at the moment. And so you're going to depend on the locals.
I'll pause you there. Sorry. Yeah. I don't want people listening to our podcast and looking at our channel and saying, oh, these are only pro expats. There's a lot of players that have come from the Olympic team that we've not really discussed much, but some new players that have come in as well from, for example, Manaf, he's looked good. Aboud, he's looked good generally when I've seen him. Saad Abdul Amir coming back, people were raving about him because he's been in good form in the league and an experienced player who's done amazing things with the national team, given, well, although it was 7 years ago. But I want you to discuss everything with me. Don't just to tell me about the expat players. Tell me all the
Yeah,
players and your thoughts on the squad, please.
yeah. I'm getting into that. Yeah. So I mean, overall, generally, like it's just that I don't see that the squad has, like there's holes in it. That's the main issue, and I'm not
Where?
sure how you have striker. We don't have a striker like ready made at the moment. Ala Abbas had his goal against Uganda, but I'm not sure. I'm not so convinced right now, especially with Mimi out. Wings feel kind of flimsy at the moment. Yani we have Hassan Abdel Karim. He looks good talent, and he's coming up, but not quite there at the moment, in my opinion. He's going to need some time. We have, some other positions like right back, not fully settled. France is okay, but we need him to grow into this kind of position. Shirko as well, and not, he looks like a player who's been put in that position more than, as a proper fullback. There are some positions where it's not, 100% settled as well. Bashar Hassan, we've talked a lot about him, but I like him as a player, but the performances haven't been there. We need the goals from him. We need the final touches. So there's like some positions where it's not 100% settled, and so on one hand, like it's difficult to put a proper squad. And I have a lot of criticism for Petrovic, but I'm not sure how much better the squad can be at the moment. So going into the squad, going into these games, I kind of thought I'm not expecting much, especially based on the last games. How previous qualifiers, all the other matches went. And I'm like, when I see the squad, I like to see Saad Abdelhamir back, but it's been a number of years since he was performing really, really well with the national team. There's a lot of players. Ahmed Ibrahim, he's getting on in the years, but it feels like this is about the best as we can do at the moment, especially with some injuries. Mimi as well. He covered a lot of deficiencies in the squad, I think, when he was fully fit. So it was about the best we can do in the current circumstances. Now, if we want to talk about how Petrovic went about using the squad in the games, then that's another discussion, and I'm sure we'll get into that. But that's something else entirely.
Yeah. I agree with everything you've said. I think Petrovic tried to bring in a lot more expats. Certain factors meant that didn't happen. Although I still find it incredible that Jilwan hasn't been invited to this particular camp. But, it is what it is. I can excuse that. I think generally he did pick the best players available at his disposal, and I respect him and advocate a lot for what they've done in removing the deadwood, without mentioning names, because people get upset. But alhamdulillah, that was some progress. The question for me is that what we saw, that's the best that Iraq can produce? What's going on with the Iraqi league then? Wallah al-azim. How is that the best we can produce? Now, there are names I can mention of players that I'm just not impressed by. Players that were starting today against Lebanon, players that were starting against Syria and Emirat and Iran. And I'm not just talking about the people that the scapegoats, Ayman Hussein, etc. No, there are other players that finding themselves every single time selected, despite not really doing much, not really offering much. And it's hard to blame that on Petrovic, because who else does he bring in? Where's the talent that Iraq is producing? Where are these amazing footballers that we like to pretend we produce? If we look at Iraq's record across the final stages of all the World Cup qualifications across the years, I think our number of wins is only something like 5 games, if I'm not mistaken, right? Maybe it's 7.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it's a very select number of matches that we've won. And we like to pretend we're this serious force in international football, but it's not true. It's not true. We don't compete with Japan. We don't compete with Australia. We don't compete with Iran. We don't compete with Saudi. And we certainly don't compete with the likes of South Korea. We're barely competing with Lebanon and Syria these days. And we need to ask questions as to why this is happening and what the hell is going on with the Iraqi League, that we are producing such limited talents, to put it respectively. Respectfully, sorry. It's, I mean, if I'm Adnan Darjal right now, or Yunus Mahmoud, or Petrovic, or Sokop, and I'm watching that performance, I would be terrified. I would be thinking, mate, what the hell are we going to do? Lebanon, Syria, these guys, tiny countries when it comes to football. And they're playing us off the park. They're playing us off the park. They are looking like better football teams than we do. There are, out of all the games we've played, how many minutes, forget games, because the answer is 0 for games, but how many minutes have we dominated in those games? 20 minutes against Emirat. Let's start from the beginning. Against South Korea, we got battered. It finished on a draw, but we didn't have any actual possession or anything like that. Iran, battered. Then we went to Emirat, if I'm not mistaken, right? It might not be in that order, but we played Emirat where we nearly lost 3-2, but it was 2-2. 20 minutes where Emir came on, looked very good. Okay. Then we played Lebanon, didn't really do much in that first game. Syria, we looked good for maybe the second half.
Some phases, yeah.
Yeah. Then Iran again, no, not amazing. We didn't look all that. Then Lebanon now, they look better than us, man. They passed
for large parts of the game. True.
They passed the ball better. They created chances significantly better than we did. Every time they attacked, they looked the more likely to score than the Iraqi attacked it. And it really makes you wonder just how behind we're going to be in 10 years if things don't change massively. Now, alhamdulillah, we have a huge number of expats coming through the ranks across the world, and hopefully we can actually utilize this and these talents to build a generation of footballers that can actually compete on the world stage. But the way things are currently going, wallah, Iraq are only going to go in one direction, and that is right to the bottom of those FIFA rankings, because the likes of Thailand, the likes of Vietnam, the likes of Syria, all of these guys are overtaking us. Because our players are produced in the wrong foundations. They don't understand the basics of football. Tactically, they're not very good. Technically, they're acceptable. Some very good, but on the stage of the World Cup, you need more than okay. I mean, we have had some bad luck. I'll be like fair. We have had some bad luck. But how many Iraqi fans watching this right now? And I want you to leave this in the comment section. You guys watching. How many of you watched that game today? Watched the game against Iran and the games that Iraq have played in general? How many of you guys would have been proud to see that Iraq team in the World Cup on a global stage, playing actual football teams like Brazil and Argentina and Spain, etc.? Would you have been like, I hope one day I could see Iraq in the World Cup and I could look at that team and I could be proud, and I could look at fellow French fans and Italian fans and Spanish fans and be like, yeah, that's my team. Look how proud I am of them. Watch how we're going to play against you. We're going to give you a run for your money. How many of you lot could say the same about this team right now? How many of you lot would be proud to see this team in the World Cup? If this team qualified, forget my personal relationship with a lot of the players in the squad. Of course, I want the best for them. And I want the best for Iraq and all the players. But honestly and truthfully, the way we play, wallah, it's embarrassing.
We get demolished. We were losing 3-0 with Qatar. We're losing 3-0 with Iran. Yeah, we're losing 3-0 with Korea. Imagine we're playing Germany, we're playing, England, we're playing Italy.
I don't want to imagine, because it
Yeah.
would be a monumental disaster. And that's the truth. And no one can sit here telling me I'm wrong. No one. But it is what it is. It is what it is. And the question is, where do we go now? Where do we go now? I mean, I'm just thinking that, like, and this is not me putting words in the player's mouth. This is just my thoughts. Okay. This is not from Zidane or from Ali or from Amir or from Mohamed or any of France or whatever. Imagine right now I'm wearing a United shirt. Imagine I'm Zidane Iqbal right now, and I've flown from Manchester through a 25-plus-hour journey to get to Iran, and from there to get to Lebanon to play, what was it, 10 minutes in the first game, and then maybe 12 minutes in the second game. How would I
Wasn't
feel?
even 10 in the first.
Yeah, how would I feel?
Yeah.
How would Zidane Iqbal feel right now? This is one of the most promising talents that England, Pakistan, and Iraq are fighting over, because they all want him to represent them. Ali Al-Hamadi, yeah, he's not played in a while, and I'll get onto that, and I'll discuss what's happened with him recently and why he's not featured, because a lot of people have been messaging me, and I can't say stuff that I know. But some of the things that have been said about Ali, wallah, ludicrous. Oh, he went to Wickham, and they saw that he's not good enough. That's not why he's playing. Be quiet. You don't know what you're talking about. But like, these comments that I see and these messages that come to me, wallah, ridiculous. Okay, ridiculous. People making stuff up. Just like how before the Lebanon game, they made up stuff about Zidane and Ali and France that they're going to be missing because they're sick. They make stuff up. Is what I'm trying to get.
Generates clicks.
Yeah, it generates clicks. It generates people get angry, and they start commenting, and they start sharing. Oh, I hope this is not true or whatever. People, pages thrive on this negativity. And my aim, wallah al-azim, with my page is I want to break this disgusting habit of the Iraqi media just exploiting the fans and their emotions. It's disgraceful. And we're getting there. Alhamdulillah, shukr. Like, thanks to you guys, 20,000 followers we've just hit on Instagram. 7,000 followers we're nearly going to hit on Twitter. Couple of thousands on Facebook. We're nearly at 30,000 followers, and we're going to continue to grow, hopefully, to have an impact and fight a war against all of these pages that work against the Iraqi national team and not for it, and against the Iraqi fans and not for it. But I digress. Thank you, by the way. Sorry, thank you so much to every single one of you, to anyone that contributes to our page. I can't tell you guys how much it means to me. And myself, Hassan, we put all our time and effort into this. We don't make any money. In fact, we spend money buying equipment, dedicating our time to this, the editing and all that sort of stuff. We do it because we just want to see Iraq win. That's all it is. We want to see Iraq win so that Iraqi fans have something to smile about, because we have nothing else going for us. And this is why we do it. Nothing else. But anyway, let's go back to the matter. How does Ali feel right now? How does Zidane Iqbal feel right now? Zidane Iqbal, by the way, if I'm not mistaken, he can still change his mind about playing for Iraq, right? I think it's you play 3 games before you cannot change.
And then there needs to be a gap between, you know, the last match that you played and
how does he feel?
There's an
right
opening.
Now, how does Zizou feel? Coming back, he's gonna fly back to Manchester, having played 25 or so minutes. Lebanon, to play against Lebanon is harder to play than the Premier League under 23s. Wallah, the under 23s are much better. Wallah, it's much better in terms of quality and fitness and tactical. So why are you not starting him against Lebanon? What are you worried about Petrovic? We talked about, okay, the squad selection's fine. Certain things meant you had to play specific players in terms of the squad selection, because you had expats missing and all sorts. Okay, it's not your fault. Why is Amir not starting Petrovic? You're playing Lebanon. You need a win. Why are you playing Sajjad Jassim, Saad Abdel Amir, Mohammed Aboud, 3 defensive players in midfield? how are you going to get goals? How are you going to generate any real chances? This is Lebanon we're talking about. You set up like that when you're playing Brazil. Why are we giving such unnecessary respect to minnows of Asian football? And I say this kind of ironically, given who we are now. Also minnows. We're a joke. We're a joke, and we need desperate intervention in order to fix all the problems that Iraqi football is facing. Because, I don't know, Hassan, you tell me, man, where do we go from here? Where do we go? Where do we start?
Like, before even saying that, starting, like, you know, this, like the current present situation, like it really feels like it's the effect of, like, we had multiple FAs that did no work whatsoever. We coasted heavily on the remaining members of like the 2007 generation. Yunus Mahmoud was playing up until he was like 40, 41 years old, just carrying us a little bit. And we did nothing, zero development.
Then the Hakim Shakir era of 2013 just carried on.
We got lucky with a few players, like Ali Adnan came out, Mohamed Ali came out, Safa Hadi had a good period, Bashar Rasid came out, but we got lucky with some of them because the rest of the players are not really on that level at all. And we coasted, and the FA was just comically corrupt, you know, throughout those years, and zero work was done developing the Iraqi league, developing players, creating academies, you know, moving players up through the ranks. Yeah. None of that existed, and we're seeing the effects today, where we have basically no players like coming in from the local leagues who are ready for this level, who can play at this level. Maybe technically, you know, on the ball they're good enough, but tactically they're just out of their depth when they play against these national teams. When you see us playing against us, just a moderately organized team, we fall apart completely.
Can I just add as well, Hassan? You mentioned technically, yeah, most of them are all right. None of them are good. Maybe one or two.
Yeah.
Bashar, technically is very gifted. I'd argue Ala Abbas technically quite good. Tactically, they're abysmal. But you know what? Also, like, people keep overlooking, the athleticism of some of these players is unforgivable. In terms of fitness and muscle mass and strength, it's so bad.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
The joke that these guys are playing international football. Honestly.
Yeah.
Especially the money some of these guys are on, by the way. People think a lot of these players don't make real money. Man, wallah, these players make big money in the Iraqi league. There's a lot of money to be made in Iraqi football. And the disrespect that these players earn that money without really working for it, it's unforgivable. It's unforgivable.
I mean, you get this lack of ambition from the Iraqi leagues, like especially when you have these players who are trading them like back and forth between the different Baghdadi clubs. And it's like a local league, like you know, the Iraqi league is like it's like a Sunday league kind of thing, where it's like everybody knows each other. They all play against each other. They're all playing like one season I'm playing for Zawra, next season I'm playing for Joey, and next season after that I'm at Shurta. And it's just like there's no competitiveness, there's no ambition to win trophies, to improve yourself, to, you know, maybe do something at the Asian Champions League, you know, anything. There's zero ambition at all, and it carries over the national team when you have like this. It's a horrible, you know, attitude of apathy. Like when they're losing a game, it doesn't matter. It's whatever. We were gonna lose anyways. Yeah. Or, you know, they fail in this qualifier as well. We failed every other year, so why is this year different? There's no drive to do better, to improve yourself. And, you know, when you see a player, he's a professional player, but he can't play 45 minutes without gassing himself completely. That shows that, like, he's not working out, like, you know, off the pitch. He's not doing he's not training well. He's not, you know, and it's something that throughout the Iraqi league, you see it, where, you know, it's just a culture of mediocrity, where, you know, you don't need to improve because your place is settled. Your call up to the national team is guaranteed. Your position in your club is guaranteed. So why would they improve?
Wallah al-Azim. And again, I don't say this because he's my mate. Wallah al-Azim, the last two games have just shown you how important the likes of Rabin Sulaka are. Because without them, you look at the replacements and how inept they are. And you see the difference between an actual top player. When I say top, I'm not talking about like Varane and Sergio Ramos. I'm talking about on an Asian level. Rabin's very, very good. Then you compare him to some of the other players, the defensive players we have in the current squad. And you see, especially now when Rabin's not there, just how much he brings to the table in terms of positioning, in terms of calmness, in terms of aerial defensive duties, in terms of intercepting passes that go through the middle. He takes care of all of that. And it makes you appreciate how good he is as a footballer. But the irony is that when I posted it in defense of him, some of the comments, especially from other big accounts, by the way, not just on my page, but they were sharing this as well, saying, why are you defending Rabin Sulaka? You guys have given him more respect than he deserves. Without Iraqi or nobody, etc., etc. You want to know where the problem is? Believe me, it's not Rabin Sulaka. Rabin Sulaka, you go on his Instagram, how much is it? 78,000, something like this? Maybe 150, I don't know. Go to the local players. Go look at their Instagrams. 1 million, 500,000. Average players, 200,000 and 50. Like, I'm talking some of the Olympic team players. Stupid numbers. You know whose fault that is? Wallah, us as the fans. We're the ones that give them too much respect when they don't deserve it. They've done nothing to get all that publicity. They've done nothing to prove themselves to the fans to show that they're good enough to receive all this love and admiration and adoration. Okay? We give it to them. We give it to them and we're stupid to do this. And I include myself in this. When you go on Instagram and I see, I don't want to mention names, but random player, 400,000 followers. The problem is we Iraqis, we love football so much. So we want to support the players. We want to respect them. We want to follow the news. We want to know what they're up to. But what happens to them? They get a bit too big for their boots. Their nose gets stuck up. They start looking down at the national team. They start thinking they deserve to be in the team, regardless of how they train, how they perform, what form they're in for their club, for their national team, etc. They see it as a God-given right. And we as fans, we need to call them out of this more than ever before. Now I say, do it respectively. Don't sit there swearing in their comment section, etc. Don't let that be how we respond. No. It's not going to solve anything. But we need to hold these players accountable. You wear that Iraq shirt, that comes with a responsibility. That comes with a big responsibility. 40 million Iraqis just in Iraq. Think about how many millions outside. We can't even count them. Maybe 60 million. Who knows? Who knows? We need so much work, Hassan. Wallah, the whole system needs to be just torn down, rebuilt from scratch. And
the system barely even exists as it is.
The truth is, I can't see it happening. Like we talk about, like, wallah, not just me, all the expat players, by the way, all of them want a team of expat and local players. Not a single one of these expat players have ever told me, Hassan, do you know what? Hopefully they get rid of all the local players and it's going to be just expats. The irony, of course, is that local players do say this stuff, except it's the opposite. They don't want any expats. Mm-hmm. They want just local players. The expat players, no. Do you know why? Because they're confident in their own abilities. They're not terrified of competitors or competition or like a struggle for their place. They want to work for it. They're the ones that say, oh man, I wish we had more local players that can compete and help us challenge for the World Cup and the Asian Cup.
Yeah. And that's what we need. Like
that's what we need, but we don't have it.
You need a mix. You need a good mix. And we like you look at Algeria, for example. They made a team of like pretty much entirely local players. Their local players are at a good enough level. They won the Arab Cup like nothing. Yeah. And then when you go to the African Cup, then they can mix everybody up together and then actually compete. The season was so good for them. But typically That's how you want your national team, where you can have a base of players, from your local league, and then you can add into them from your expats, from around the world, whoever is good enough, and then you can have a solid base of talent, and you add on to them.
You don't
We
want
haven't been producing anything.
Want a team made up of just expats. You don't want a team made up of players that are all based abroad that you really have no control over on how they're developing or whether they're actually making it through the ranks, etc. You want to have a combination. We want the local players to do well, but everything needs to change. Everything. Right now, the league is a joke. The league is a joke, and I don't know how any Iraqi fan sits here watching this stuff. And actually, they come to me and with all confidence tell me, "Oh, did you see Ayman Hussein? He's banging it in the Iraqi league, or Muhammad Qasim, he's so good in the Iraqi league." What does that mean? It's not football. It's not football, and until we get a reality check with this, nothing's going to change. And I respect Bashar. Not because people think he's related to me, which he isn't. But I respect him because he came out and said the Iraqi league just doesn't produce players that have the fitness and durability that can compete at an international level. And he said it during the Arab Cup. And it's true. It's true. So here we are. Here we are in an absolute joke state where I'm not even sure what to say. I'm not even sure what to say. Wallah al-Azim. I'm so angry, bro. I'm so angry, Hassan. And I want to blame someone, but there's so many people at fault here. You want to blame
Yeah, it's a combination of, inaction over decades. And we're seeing the results today.
You want to blame Petrovic for his tactical ineptitude or playing 3 defensive midfielders? Blame him. Okay. You want to put him at fault for not playing Zidane for more minutes than Al-Hamadi? Okay, he's an idiot. No problem. What about Advocate? Advocate came in and he was stupid enough to fight all the expats from the get-go, and we could have had a much better start to this campaign, but he didn't want to because he listened to that donkey Rahim Hamid and Basit Gorgis. He listened to them, and this is the consequence of what happened. Before that, Katanich. And where do we start with Katanich? What more can we add to this absolute moron of a coach, who I fully blame for the shambles we are in right now, because he started the war against the expats. Say what you want about Advocate and Petrovic, but at least they tried creating change. Maybe not using expats, but they tried to bring in some fresh blood. We've seen some good players come through the ranks, the likes of Qawqiyya, the likes of Manaf. I think Hassan's all right player as a defender. You have, for example, who else has impressed me? Muhammad Dawood.
Aboud is pretty decent.
Huh?
Aboud, a little bit.
Oh yeah, Aboud, I like him. Yeah, I just said Aboud, I think he's all right. He reminds me a little bit like Carrick. He doesn't do the fancy stuff, but he keeps the ball ticking. But you need players around him. See, it's like playing like Carrick, Hargreaves, and I don't know who's another defensive midfielder we had at the time. It doesn't make sense. You need to have one player like Aboud holding the defensive line, and then you have 2 other players that complement him. It should have been Aboud, Zidane, Amir, for example. Think about how much better that midfield looks now with him there.
That's what makes no difference, because we had what was our midfield against Iran, where it was like Amir al-Ammari starting, Bashar al-Assad started.
But we had, again, you have a double pivot of Saad Abdel Amir, and you have Aboud. No one's going to recycle the ball the right way in that team. Aboud, he plays defensively. He's going to play it safe, and that's his job. Saad Abdel Amir, I think he's 34, 35 now.
Something like that.
Yeah, his legs are not going to be able to allow him to get up and down the pitch to help create chances. If you're going to put a double pivot, 2 central midfielders that are holding, one of them needs to be able to push up, first of all, and support the attack when we have the ball. Number 2, the rest of the players in front of him need to be quick and agile in order to actually play off one another. Because you're going to be playing on the counter attack, and that's what we needed to do against Iran. That's where you need the likes of Ali Al-Hamadi. He came in 10 minutes. How many times did he pick up the ball and just boom, straight down the wing, trying to create something? Ahmed Farhan doesn't do that. God knows Humam Tariq doesn't do that. That's the difference in quality, though. That's someone who understands what to do when on a pitch. We talk about tactics. This is what tactics mean. A player who knows what to do at the right time and where to go on the pitch, how to play the right pass, etc. And the local players generally don't know how to do that properly. Tactically, we've been all over the place. Katanic is still a huge responsibility. There's a huge responsibility on his shoulders for all the rubbish we've seen over the recent couple of months.
Yeah, and people are going to say like about Katanic, he had his stretch of games where he's unbeaten, but they don't talk about how we spent how many years with him and not a single new player came up.
100%.
It's basically the same guys over and over and over and over. And once they're all finished, we're in this position where there's no replacements. And even if you want to bring in the expats, they need time to settle in. And you're in this impossible situation that we're seeing right now.
Yeah.
So
with Katanic, my problem is not just he didn't even bring in expats, he didn't bring in anyone new. No one. He didn't bring in anyone new from the Iraqi league. He had the same 15 or so players. He'd bring in new players into the squad, they wouldn't get a single minute. Even in the friendlies, they wouldn't play. He'd play the exact same players every single time, and he has his 2 or 3 substitutes that he trusts, and he'd bring them on when he needs them. But this is the result of it. You have to make wholesale changes like Advocate and Petrovic have done in a matter of 1 year, when these changes should have been happening over 4 years, 5 years. So these players have time to gain experience. They have time to gel. They have time to understand each other's movement, understand each other's style of playing. But it's too little, too late. I remember a couple of years ago, one of the Iraqi players, the expats, made his debut for Iraq, and I was so excited for this guy. Amazing talent. You can probably guess who it is, to be fair. But I told him, how did you find it? Like, do you think we can make it to the World Cup if we bring in all the expats? He said, bro, you can bring in all the expats, but this needs to be done in a way where it's progressive. It takes time. You need to do it in stages. You can't just bring them all at once and then everything's going to be fixed. No, it doesn't work like that. Even this last set of games, we could have brought in Soma, we could have brought in Yasser Qasim, we could have brought in Cardo and other players. But it takes time. You have to bring in the players in the right way. Not dash them all in and then say Bismillah and then see what happens, which is what they're trying to do. It doesn't work like that. These are human beings. These are footballers that are coming in from different parts of the world. You have the likes of Ali, who's grown up playing in Wales. You have Zidane growing up playing in Manchester. You have players growing up in Stockholm in Sweden. Then you have France and Denmark. Then you have, for example, Osama Rashid in Holland. These players that are developing all across the world, different styles of play, different mentality. You can't just bring them all together and hope that it's going to work. It's not like that. They need time. This goes back to the previous FA and that clown Katanic, who didn't make any changes. He didn't do anything to support the Iraqi national team. People can talk all they want about that stupid joke 19-match unbeaten run. Doesn't mean anything in my book. Doesn't mean anything at all. It's meaningless. If you think that is important, you don't understand football. You don't understand the significance of how badly this guy messed up the Iraqi national team. But then again, football's not for everyone. It's harsh, but it's true. It's harsh. Everyone has an opinion. Yeah, everyone's entitled to have an opinion. But doesn't mean everyone's right. That might be something arrogant there. But it is what it is. I don't want to say any more. Well, I don't want to say any more, because if I start talking about this topic, I get in a bit of trouble. So, let's throw away the key. خلاص واحد. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think, Hassan?
Yeah, I mean, we have our work cut out for us. Like for this FA, Adnan Darjan, he has all he's talked a lot, but well, let's see some action, because this Iraqi league needs complete overhaul. And I think this is something that doesn't get talked about much, but I think it's something that's like kind of important, because a lot of these Iraqi league clubs, like the system that we have there, where it's like these Iraqi clubs are like, they're funded pretty much by the government, basically. Like there's no incentive for you to develop the club, to build players, to sell them off, to there's no reason to do that, because you get your salary anyways, you're getting money anyways. Who cares? There's some like that's just one example, but like the whole system of the Iraqi league, where there's no incentive to grow, there's no incentive to develop players. It needs to change, and we're not going to see anything, because even when we look in the past, like of all the players that brought up, it was carried by one man, Amu Baba. That's it. Even the recent players that we had, Muhammad Ali and Ali Adnan, who came up, that was from his academy. So like it's literally one man who was carrying up the development of all of Iraqi football, and it's not gonna happen, forever. You're not gonna constantly pull out, Muhammad Ali's and Ali Adnan's and new Saad Abdel Amir's, whatever. They're not gonna come out of the Iraqi league just naturally, just out of nowhere, with no work put in.
Yeah.
We need a complete overhaul of like how we look at youth development, and how these clubs develop, because the clubs have an important an important role. It's like the main role, because you're going to bring a player to the national team. What's the national team coach going to do? He's going to see the players maybe at most, if he has a training camp, at most like maybe a month. That's not going to that's not going to do anything. That's if he has a training camp, I mean. Yeah. But if he has a game, it's like a few days.
4 or 5 days.
It's nothing. And the player's development is with his club. If the club is developing and wrong, what's the national team coach going to do? You brought in Advocat at the beginning, when you say, okay, we brought a major coach. What is he going to do? He's going to change these players, like their development from when they were like 12 years old.
Yeah,
it's impossible. That's not going to happen. So the clubs are the root of a lot of these problems, where they don't develop anything. And even when a player wants to move on from the Iraqi league, they fight him tooth and nail to like we saw the case with Muhammad Ali, when you had major clubs, Juventus, Manchester City, like they're coming in for him, not even a response to these offers.
Yeah.
Like these players, there's no pathway out of the Iraqi league that's like easy, and there's no pathway to develop within the Iraqi league. So these players are like if you're stuck in this in this limbo. A lot of these players, they just get fed up to go into the Khaliji leagues, Iran maybe, and you're not going to develop well there. Like there needs to be a pathway. You need to have like I think the best step forward is have the Iraqi league as a system where you can develop players and ship them off into Europe. Then they can get more and more experience. You see that in for example the Japanese league, the Korean league, where these leagues are constantly producing players that go off to play in Germany. They're playing off in European leagues, and constantly, and they're producing like great players all the time. That's where I would hope, in the next decades, it's not going to happen immediately, obviously, but it's like the work needs to be done where we can kind of move into that direction in the next 20 years, maybe something like that. That's a long-term goal, where you can rely on these players to come out, because you're not going to have a Zidane Iqbal is not going to happen every single time. Ali Hamadi is not going to happen every single time. You're not going to find them all the time. You need a consistent, revolving door of players coming out from your own local league that you can that's consistent and could provide competition as well. Because you don't want to have a player coming in from England, from Germany, wherever he is, and there's no competition in the national team, because that's also bad. Because we need to have healthy competition within the squad. So the entire system from the base of it is just it's just completely wrong, completely rotten, completely wrong, and there's a ton of work to be done if we're even going to see it. If we can hope even for the next qualifiers, so they're going to be expanded for 42, 46 teams for the next World Cup. Even that is kind of a long shot, as we are, because how many games has it been? Not a single win.
Yeah,
and we have a ton of work to do between now and then.
Yeah.
So there are some positive points like that we see in the national team. Like it's amazing to see Zidane, make his debut and to see him wearing the Iraqi shirt. Amazing to see Ali Al-Hamadi, Hassan Abdel Karim. He's a really nice talent. He was our best player in my opinion today in this game. Yeah. Like there are some talents, but like that's not enough to carry you. Like, maybe it'll win you a game or two. Like maybe you make a if all the stars align, maybe you'll make a run in the Asian Cup. But like for World Cup qualifiers, you need a long-term planning, and we've been saying this every single qualifying campaign. Like 2014, same thing. 2010 World Cup, same thing. Look, it's always the same words that are said, but action doesn't get taken. So, and that's the thing. Like with so many problems in Iraq, where it's like that like the system is rotten, but the action doesn't get taken for whatever reason. And we're just stuck in this loop where we sit here, we complain about all these problems that we have, that we know we have, that everybody knows we have. They're it's like at this point, like if you don't know, like you're not following the national team at all. Anybody who even watches a game, they know that what's going on, that we have these deep problems, but nobody does anything about it. And we're gonna constantly suffer the same way over and over and over if we continue like this.
100% agree, unfortunately. You look at some of the younger lot though. You're seeing some good talents. Ahmed Sertib, for example. Muntazar looks all right. Muntazar Mohammadi looks all right. But then you have some players like Blind. You have like Marcas. You have players like Alexander Ora, Cardo coming in, maybe Jami. You have Ali Haidar in Stoke if he ends up playing for Iraq. You have another Ali in Blackburn. There are players there, but again, like you can't rely on these one-off players to kind of save your national team. These are kids, and their careers might not go the way you want it to. They want it to, etc. Like.
There's a ton of variables.
Then again, we have all the players as well in Sweden that I really believe we are going to see with the Iraqi national team eventually. But so if you turn to, for example, if you turn to the likes of Ayman Shar, if you turn to the likes of Amin al-Dakhail, you tell them, "I come play for Iraq." You need to have results there to show them actually it's worth coming to play for Iraq, that you should come to play for Iraq because you'll win games or you'll do this or you'll do that. Would they want to come to a team that can't win one game in a World Cup qualifying campaign? I don't know. It's quite sad, really, if you think about it. Like, given the talents that we have, how poor we are, given who we have available, how little we actually utilize these amazing talents. So much work to do on an expat basis, where we're trying to convince these players to play for Iraq, or whether it's the local players that just can't produce any good local players because the whole system's entirely destroyed and it's a shambles. So many problems. But yeah, I don't think this is something we can discuss in any more depth without going overboard. So we have 2 final games coming up, yes? Iraq, Syria, and Iraq, Emirat.
Emirat, yeah.
Yeah. Mathematically, we're not out, but we need results to go our way. And
I think if Iran doesn't beat Emirat today, I think they're playing right now as we're recording, so we don't know the score yet. But if Iran fails to beat them, then I think it's guaranteed out.
Yeah. Let's see, maybe Iran can do us a favor. But it's a pity that it's come to this point. We're having to pray and hope that things go in our favor. But for me...
For a chance at third.
Yeah. For me, this was gone a long time ago. It was gone before it even started. It was gone when we stuck with Katanic after a bunch of horrendous performances. It's the hope that kills you. You really have to wonder how different this whole year would have been for Iraqi football if we had Carlos Queiroz as manager. Just look at Egypt now, man. He's completely transformed the whole country because you have a manager that understands football, that understands tactics, that understands how to talk to players. That was always Advocate's biggest issue, and Petrovic as well, is man management. So, and tactical.
But even like if you were like, in my opinion, like if say we brought girls, like is he going to make that big of a difference? And like, yes, we had a lot of problems with game management with our coaches.
One match, that'll be a start.
Yeah. But I mean, like, what's the difference between finishing, even in our situation, like finishing like between 4th and 5th or 6th? Yeah, like it's the same thing in the end. Like you're not gonna get much out of Iran. Like if you can, like with these players, I'm not gonna, maybe you'll make a win if you're lucky. With a better coach and perfect situations. Against Korea, probably it's the same thing. You're not going to get top 2. 3rd place is a long shot because you're going to face either Saudi or you're going to face Japan or Australia, one of those 3. Looking most likely, it could be even Japan or Australia. And then after that, you got the South American team. It's a heavy long shot. Like it's not going to you can put whatever coach, in my opinion. These players, like that's the one thing that's like I have a hard time even criticizing them too much because it's like what are you going to expect more from them? Like he's playing at his level. That's like you say Ayman Hussein, you're piling a lot of people. They're piling a lot of criticism against him. It's like this is his level. Is he going to play better? Not really. He can't. He just can't. You can't expect anything from him. So why you like if he was a player that like you can tell he's not he's underperforming, he's not focused, he's not, taking it seriously, then sure, because, you know that there's more that can come out of him. Like a lot of these players, like this is what they can give. And, it's a shame, but this is the reality that we have. Like you can put whoever in charge, put Klopp in charge, put, whatever. It's like, he's not going to make them superstars. It's not like, it is what it is. And even like we said this already, like you're going to bring in the expats, but they need time, they need an environment, they need games together, and that's difficult because their clubs are not all going to release them at the same time. Their clubs are not, like it's tough to get them all at the same time for a training camp, so it's not something you can depend on. We said this already, we need players from our local league to be at that level that we can depend on them as the basis of the national team, and then you can add on to them what the best of the expats that we're getting talents from there, and so you can add them on. But if the basis is not there, then you're not going to achieve anything.
Petrovic, in or out?
Out 100%.
Okay.
I was mixed before the Arab Cup because when Advocat left, I was just like, because we need the next coach to be, we need to get that decision right. So there was no time between then and the Arab Cup. So I'm like, give him the Arab Cup. But after the Arab Cup, like it was time to change coaches. So I'm shocked that we let him go until these games. Absolutely, he has to be out. We absolutely need a coach, not a big name necessarily. We need somebody who will develop, who will grow with the national team. Like look at Qatar. Felix Sanchez, their coach right now. He's not a major name, but he built a team that could win the Asian Cup, that can compete in Copa America, that finished semifinals in the North American Cup, Gold Cup recently, a team that will play at the World Cup, and they won't embarrass themselves. I'll tell you that from now. This is not a big name. So there are coaches like of that kind of, level where it's like, who their goal, their experience is developing teams to build something. Felix Sanchez came out of the Barcelona Academy, I believe. These kind of coaches who are not, they're going to use you as like, as a stopgap or just, a quick check, something like that. You need somebody who is here for, the long term, the next, 3 to 5 years to build you a generation. And because we have a ton of, really young players who are at a vital stage, the national team, Zidane Akbal, Ali Hamadi, Hassan Abdul, a lot of these names that we just mentioned already. And as well, look at the U23 is full of these players. We need a pathway to move them up through these ranks and build a team that can compete for 2026 qualification, because that should have been the goal right away.
We have the Asian Cup 2023, right?
Asian Cup, yeah, that's coming up very soon. So, like, we need like somebody who can start building from now to make these players comfortable in the national team so that they can actually perform. Because you're going to bring in Osama Rashid, for example. Like that's something that happened a lot, back in the last several years, where you bring him in and he's not the kind of player who's going to completely change the team with like a 15-minute cameo in a friendly.
Yeah,
these are players, like they're talented players who need time to in a system so that they can show their skill.
Yeah.
If you don't give them that, they're not going to show anything. So, and that goes for any player, whether they're local or expat. You need a solid basis of a national team. So that's what we should be looking at. Petrovic is not that guy. He's making like the same ridiculous game management decisions that we saw. Same thing as with Advocat, where it's like you're like, just as a quick example, like this in this game, you're chasing a goal. You need a goal in this match. 88th minute, you're subbing your center backs. 80th minute, you're subbing your fullbacks. Like these comical decisions. We need a coach who is good in game management, who knows how to like use the players who's available, but also has a long-term vision, a long-term attachment to the national team, where he's going, like where we have an end goal, where we want to qualify for 2026. We want to have a decent showing at the coming Asian Cup. So like a coach who can be with us step by step, who knows how to deal with the players that we have available, who knows how to make a welcoming environment. When we had Justin Miramar on, that was a major thing, where the national team environment right now is kind of chaotic, where you have these cliques and these players who don't associate with others, and then the locals are like there's kind of like a cold war between these players. We need a welcome environment in the national team. We need a comfortable environment so that we can get the best out of all of these players. So that's what we need desperately for our next coach. And that the decision for the next coach is something that's absolutely vital, because it's going to show, it's going to define a lot of what we're going to see from the national team in the near future, in my opinion. I really hope we don't commit to Petrovic. I think his contract, I'm not sure when that's going to be running out, but we just can't continue with him. It's not a pathway forward. We're just going to be running in circles and doing nothing, and we're going to be burning out these players that we're bringing in. Any talented player, any talented young player, you're just going to waste him. You're gonna burn him out with the national team. You're gonna have guys like Zidane, for example. I keep using his example, but he's like kind of like the biggest example of these talented expat players. But you come in and you see these players, the national team, where it's going in circles. Why am I going through all this effort? Where a lot of the fans, they have no idea like how difficult it is, how much of a sacrifice that they're making. So you're coming into this national team and you're running in circles, and it's a floundering national team. Why am I going through all this? So we need to build something moving forward. Like there's a ton of examples of other national teams that are making these progress that we need to be making as well. So yeah, like as I said, like this next coach, absolutely vital decision that needs to be we need to make it right.
Hassan, I think we've said everything we need to say. If the fans want to contact you on social media, where can they find you?
Yeah, primarily Twitter, Hassan O_1193. Yeah.
And guys, if you want to contact me, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Iraq Football Pod. Okay. Please, we want to hear from you guys. Thank you for the continued support. We want to hear from you on your thoughts on Petrovic, where we go next, what you made of today's or the last couple of results, and the qualification campaign in general. So don't forget to tweet us, leave us comments, Instagram messages, etc., etc. We do this for you, and we want to know what your thoughts are on all of these matters. So thank you to everyone who's been in contact with us as well. It is very difficult to reply to everyone, but we do appreciate everything that you guys do for us and for our page. We'll be back very, very soon. I'm not sure when our next match is, but it will probably be within a month or two, and we will be there covering everything as we always do. So take care from me. Thank you so much. And one last time, at least in this qualification campaign, Yalla ya Iraq.
Oh!